So when Han Kang accepted the Nobel Prize for Literature, she didn't just give a speech. Nope, she basically handed us a key to unlock her entire universe of work. And that whole journey, believe it or not, started with a simple, really powerful question she first asked herself when she was just 8 years old. To get her, we've got to start right there. This right here, this was the heart of a poem she wrote as a kid. And it pretty much became the central quest of her life, trying to figure out that connection. The beating heart and this golden thread. But here's the thing. This quest was anything but easy. To really understand that golden thread of connection, she first had to stare down the most profound, most awful forms of human disconnection. We're talking violence and tragedy. Okay, so how did this all kick off? Well, it started with a rediscovery. A memory she just happened to find in an old shoebox. So picture this. Han Kang is moving, and she finds this old shoebox packed with her childhood diaries. And tucked away inside is this incredible little thing, a tiny handmade poetry book she'd made back in 1979 as an 8-year-old. When she opened it and read those words about the golden thread, it hit her. Her past self and her present self were still connected by the exact same things, a beating heart and this relentless search for that brilliant, shining thread. But, and this is a huge but, to write about connection, she first had to face a deep personal trauma that made her question everything. It made her wonder if human beings were even capable of connection at all. A trauma that's tied to one specific time and one specific place. Gwangju, 1980. Get this timeline. Just 4 months after her family moved away, the Gwangju Uprising, a peaceful pro-democracy demonstration, was brutally, violently put down by the new military regime. A few years later, when she was only 12, she found a secretly published photo album of the massacre, hidden away on her family's bookshelf. What she saw in those pages would change her life forever. That photo book presented her with this terrible, impossible paradox. On one hand, it was filled with images of cruelty you just can't unsee. But on the other hand, it also had these pictures of incredible human dignity. Citizens lining up for hours, risking their lives just to donate blood for the wounded. So she was stuck with these two questions that just wouldn't fit together. How can humans be so violent? And how can they be so good? It was a riddle that felt completely unsolvable. And this contradiction, it broke her faith in people. I mean, how could she ever write the luminous, beautiful, life-affirming novels she'd always dreamed of when humanity itself seemed so fundamentally broken? She knew right then she couldn't move forward as a writer until she stared right into that abyss and tried to make some sense of it. And this is what led to the great turning point in her work, a moment where she didn't find an answer, not really. Instead, she found a way to flip the entire question on its head. As she started researching the Gwangju Uprising for the novel that would eventually become Human Acts, this was the question that haunted her. It was a question she'd written in her diaries for years. Could she, the living writer, actually do anything to help, to somehow save the souls of those who had died? The answer, it seemed, was no. It felt impossible. She was at a breaking point, just crushed by the sheer weight of it all. And then she read this line. It was from the diary of a young teacher who was killed in the final hours of the resistance. He desperately wanted to live, but his conscience wouldn't let him abandon his post. In that single moment of profound empathy, everything changed. In what she calls a thunderclap of understanding, she realized she'd been asking the wrong question all along. It wasn't about whether she could help the dead. The real question was, could the dead help her? Could the dead, in fact, save the living? And that was the breakthrough. The dead, through their stories of unbelievable dignity, could show the living how to cross that impossible void. And with this totally new perspective, that childhood golden thread started to reappear. It began weaving its way through all of her work, connecting everything, the past and the present, the living and the dead, even pain and love. You can actually trace this breakthrough as it builds across her novels. Each book becomes a new link in this chain of questions. So The Vegetarian asks, is it even possible to refuse violence completely? Then Human Acts asks, well, if we can't escape it, how in the world do we survive it? And her latest, We Do Not Part, takes that final, crucial step. How do we find a way to love in the wake of it all? Through this whole journey, she came to this profound understanding that Gwangju wasn't just a historical event. It became for her a common noun. It's a name for any place, at any time, where humanity's worst atrocities and its greatest dignity collide. It's a story that is always happening, even right now. And this is how it all connects, you see. The dead guide the living. The past informs the present, and she asks this incredible question: what if our pain is actually proof of our capacity for love? That idea, that is the candle flame passing from one heart to the next. That is the golden thread she first wrote about as a little girl. It all comes back to that. So this brings us to the ultimate message from her Nobel speeches. What is the point of all this struggle, all this writing? What is literature actually for? She tells this other amazing story from her childhood. She's caught in a downpour, right? Huddled under an awning with a bunch of complete strangers. And she has this sudden revelation. Every single person standing there with her was an I. A unique first-person perspective experiencing that same rain, that same cold. It was a moment of pure, radical empathy. And that, for Han Kang, is the whole purpose of literature. It is the language that lets us follow that golden thread right into another person's mind, into their eye. It's a tool for connection. And because of that, it's an act of resistance against anything and everything that seeks to destroy life. She has this amazing phrase for it, the body temperature of literature. It's the way a writer uses all those sensory details, the warmth, the cold, the touch, the pain, to send a literal current of life through the words. It's a current that flows from the writer's body to the reader's, creating a real, tangible connection, a living thread. So in the end, Han Kang's entire body of work leaves us with this final, incredibly urgent question. It's the question that she wrestled with in her latest novel, and really, it's a challenge to every single one of us. In a world that's so full of darkness, how much love is required of us just to hold on to our own humanity?